Firstly, India is a democratic country, and our culture and our thought philosophy is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which basically means that the entire world is a family. Every Indian is my own family member. And when it comes to such personal matters, leaders of two countries will not get together on that topic and discuss anything on an individual matter.
Go ahead, please. Yeah, please. Sir, go ahead, please.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. I have a question for you as well. But, Mr. President, you have suggested, with regards to the Russia-Ukraine war, you've suggested several things that Ukraine should give up. The idea of NATO membership, territory that was seized back in 2014 by Russia. What should Russia give up?
Russia has gotten themselves into something that I think they wish they didn't. If I were president, it would not have happened. Absolutely would not have happened. And it didn't happen for 4 years. If you look at what has taken place under President Bush, they lost a lot. Under President Obama, they lost Crimea. Under Biden, it looks like they could lose the whole thing. Under Trump, they lost nothing. Ukraine lost nothing. They didn't give up anything. And you take a look at the other three presidents surrounding me, they gave up a lot. I think that when you look at Ukraine and when you look at the mess that they're in, it's got to be ended and it's got to be stopped. Now, Russia's taken over a pretty big chunk of territory, and they also have said from day one, long before President Putin, they've said they cannot have Ukraine be in NATO. They said that very strongly. I actually think that that was the thing that caused the start of the war. And Biden said it, and Zelensky said it, and I think that was one of the reasons, one of the starts of the war. But from long before Putin, they said you cannot have Ukraine going in any way into NATO. And I start from that standpoint. I think everybody knew that. Now, if a better deal can be negotiated, if they are able to make a deal where they can do that, that's fine with me. I really don't care. I want that bloodshed to stop. I don't want to see, we have an ocean between us and the site we're talking about, the site of death. We're calling it the fields of death. We have a big ocean in between us. This is more important for Europe. We shouldn't be in. They have to equalize, and they're going to have to do it fast, but they have to equalize. But as far as the negotiation, it's too early to say what's going to happen. Maybe Russia will give up a lot. Maybe they won't. And it's all dependent on what is going to happen. The negotiation really hasn't started. But I will say, as far as NATO is concerned, from many years before President Putin, I will tell you that I've heard that Russia would never accept that. And I think Ukraine knew that because Ukraine wasn't in and never requested to be in until more recently. So that's the way it is. And I think that's the way it's going to have to be. Go ahead, please. All right, go ahead, please, with the tie. With the tie, yeah.
Mr. President,
yes, go ahead, please.
This is Saurabh Shukla from News Mobile. Mr. President, you spoke about Prime Minister Modi as a tough negotiator. Who was a tougher negotiator today and who has a better negotiating tactic when it comes to tariffs?
Oh, he's a much tougher negotiator than me, and he's a much better negotiator than me. There's not even a contest. Okay? Yeah, go ahead, please. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Reena Bhardwaj from ANI. How do you see this relationship between India and the United States to counter China? And what is your vision when it comes to India, brokering peace in the Ukraine and Russia conflict?
Well, I think we're going to have a very good relationship with China. I got along with President Xi very well until COVID. That was a bridge too far. But until then, I got along with President Xi very, very well. We were very close as leaders go. I don't want to be naive, but as leaders go, I think we were very close. And I think that China is a very important player in the world. I think they can help us get this war over with Ukraine and Russia. And I look at India, I do see the skirmishes on the border, which are quite vicious, and I guess they continue to go on. if I could be of help, I'd love to help because that should be stopped. That's been going on for a long time, and it's quite violent. It's quite violent, but I would hope that China and India and Russia and U.S. and all of us can get along. It's very important. You know, the power of weaponry today is, and not only nuclear, but nuclear in particular, the power of weaponry is very important. I said before that I had very constructive talks in my first term with President Putin about the denuclearization of the two countries, and then we were going to go to China after we worked some kind of a deal. And we, at the confines of a deal, I thought he really wanted to do it, so did I, denuclearize. And it's such a beautiful term when you think about it. In other words, to bring it down, because the power of those weapons is too great. And I did speak to President Xi about that, and I was getting also a very good response. He's building a very strong nuclear power. He's not very close to Russia or the United States right now, but he will be soon. I mean, he'll catch up over the period of 4 or 5 years, they say. But it would be a great thing if we could, on a military basis. We're going to spend this year let's say $915 billion on military. Russia, without the war, was spending close to 100, but with the war, I can't tell you what they're spending, but they're spending a lot. And China is spending $400 and $450 billion. We're over $900 billion. And I said, you know, it doesn't really make sense, does it? We're spending the money against each other, and we could spend that money for better purpose if we got along. And I'll tell you, I think that something like that will happen. First, when I left, as you know, 4 years ago, we didn't have Israel and the Middle East. We didn't have October 7th, a disaster, the disaster. Nothing was happening. Iran was not going to do anything because Iran did not have much money at that point. They were broke. They were totally broke. They didn't have money for Hamas or for Hezbollah. And you didn't have Russia with Ukraine, and that would never have happened. But now I come back and the whole world is on fire, so I have to put out the fires. But after I put out the fires, I'm going to meet with China and I'm going to meet with Russia, and we're going to see if we can de-escalate, if we can bring it down military, especially as it pertains to nuclear. Please.
Mike, please. Prime Minister, how do you see India's role? You have had discussions with President Trump about de-escalating the conflict in Russia and Ukraine. As you know, I have been in constant contact with both Russia and Ukraine. I have also visited both countries. And many people are mistaken and they feel that India is neutral. I would like to clarify, India is not neutral. We have taken a side, and we have taken the side of peace. And it is based on this principle of ours that in the presence of President Putin, I clearly said in front of the media that this is not the era of war. And even today, it is my conviction that solutions cannot be found on the battlefield. Ultimately, you have to come to the negotiating table. And India has constantly made efforts that there are talks that take place where both parties are present. It is only then that we will find a solution. The efforts being made by President Trump, I support them, I welcome them, and I would like that President Trump is successful as soon as possible so that the world is on the path to peace once again.
Everybody, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I very much appreciate the Prime Minister visiting our great country, and I do really appreciate it. We have so much in common, and all we want to do is have peace, and we want to have strength, and we want to have lots of different things together. But the relationship with India